Hi, it's Mark Kaufman, Anthology's Senior Partner Software Engineer, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how you can use Deep Linking 2.0 to create gradable content in a course. You may have seen other services like Assignments and Grades where you can manage the gradebook, but this video is going to show you how you can use Deep Linking 2.0 and the JSON that it sends back to Learn after you do the launch. The tool will send JSON back to Learn that will create a line item in the Learn's gradebook that is associated with the link that is launched. So let's get started. First, we're going to register our LTI Advantage tool. I've got our testing tool. That's the code is here on GitHub. It's BBD in the LTI tool provider node. Eric Preston wrote that. It's a great tool. Eric Preston and a few other people, but I think Eric had a lot to do with it. There's my application ID, client ID in LTI terms. Learn on our developers portal, we call it the application ID. It's the client ID. We hit submit, and you see that I'm going to get a deployment ID back. I may be needing that later, so I'm going to make a note of that here in case I do need it. And other than that, I need to make sure it's approved to use it. And I'm going to send to do grading and so on, you need some information about, I'm pretty sure you need some information about the student. So I'm just going to turn all this on. It's going to make sure we're not missing anything in the launch that we would need. So I know you do need the role in the course, otherwise you can't tell that you're getting a launch from a student or an instructor. Okay, so we've got our tool registered now here. It's this one. It's an LTI 1.3 tool. And now we need to create a placement. Now you can set your tool up on the developer portal to create the placements automatically when you deploy it. I haven't done that for this tool yet. So I'm copying this text from the code, the console that I have running for that. I'm going to call this deep link request. I usually the label is what the student or the instructor would see in the interface. So you might want to make it something user friendly. The handle is internal. It needs to be unique to the Learn system. I'm not going to allow student access for this. And then the URI, I'm going to grab that from over here. And I'm not going to do any custom parameters with the launch. I'm just going to hit submit. So now we have our deep linking content tool. We'll make the deep link request to the tool. And what's nice about this example tool is that you can really see what is going on. So let's go to the course that we have set up. And we'll get into courses here, and we'll get right in there. I've already enrolled myself as an instructor. You do need to be enrolled as an instructor. So now we're going to make so first of all, look, there's nothing in the gradebook. Let's just start there. And so we're on the content, and we're going to go and we're going to say, go to our content market, and here's my deep link request. So I'm going to make the request. Now, right about here, something will go wrong with the demo. It's not happy with my tunnel. I just guessed something was going to happen. That's often where something happens. So I'm going to pause and fix that, and I'll be right back. So we recently changed our corporate rules about what's secure on our laptops. So I had to use a certain I didn't have the tunnel set up correctly. Let's just say that. I had to use a different tunnel. So here we go. I'm going to click this again. It should be okay this time. There it goes. I see it over on the console on the terminals on the other window. So maybe we'll pause a little bit while it launches. It usually takes a bit to load. So this page basically says, what do you want to send back to the Learn system? I can send back an embedded LTI link. We'll talk about that another time. I can send back an LTI link. We were going to do the first one. It actually does create a gradable item. It's JSON to create a gradable item, and then we'll look at that JSON and we'll create similar JSON that will create our own gradable item. But right now what I do is I just hit the submit button, and that lets us look at the return JSON that's going back. That's nice to have. So I'm going to grab that. It also is helpful. This page also lets us see what came in to the tool. So if there's any question about what's coming from Learn to your tool, you could do something like this where you look at the JWT body. That's always helpful for troubleshooting. But right now I'm just going to take that return JSON, and I don't think I've stick it in my note over here that it'll show up correctly. So I'm going to need to open a text editor where it won't care about all of that background colors and so on. So let's see if we can get Visual Studio Code up and running here. And I'm just going to paste it in there. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the release notes. I don't want to modify files I have open. This is a different project. So I'm going to close the folder. There we go. And then I'm just going to do new file. And I'll just create that in my downloads folder. I don't really care about it. So there we go. Alright, so now we can see that JSON, and it's not, hopefully this will paste nicely over to this other window. Oh, good enough. Good enough for now. Okay, so we got all that. So now I'm going to return that. But what you're going to see is that I got my item here. I've got the item, and now you do see something in the gradebook. They created a line item in the gradebook that is associated with the content that we just created. All right, you notice I had the JSON I sent back had some release conditions. It also had a title that was different than the gradebook column name. You can do that with your JSON. So let's say we wanted to create an item that had the same title, same name in the gradebook as the title of the content, and let's say that we wanted it to open in a new window, because you notice when I click on this now, let's get back in there. When I click on this, it opens a peek panel. It doesn't open in a new window. It opens a peek panel. We call these peek panels, and then the tool will load there. So let's go back and just change the JSON. That's the nice thing about this testing tool, is you can actually play with the JSON that you send back to the LMS to Learn in this case. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pause this while I modify. I had some JSON from another testing tool that I had set up. I'm going to modify this JSON so that it does the right thing to have it will let us have a title that it matches the gradebook column, the line item column. See, here's the line item. We call them line items. That's a nomenclature that we use in LTI. Line item, and we can send a score maximum. And here we sent chapter 12 quiz, which is different than our LTI content item title. So I'm going to pause while I make these changes, and then we'll actually paste the JSON that we want back into the tool that will then send a payload back that creates a new item in this course that has the title matching the gradebook column, and when we click on it, it will open in a new window. So I'm going to pause and do that. Okay, I have taken this JSON and it will create a gradable LTI 1.3 link item, and it will give it that a label in the line items or the gradebook with the same name. And you'll notice that I have the target window being a different window than the current, by putting the window tag in there, which is not in the default one, I don't believe. Let's just go ahead and look at that. I'll go to my content market and I'll do the launch, and we'll look at the default URL that the tool creates, or the default JSON that the tool creates to send back. So if I hit submit here and then I don't actually submit it to learn, we won't get another item. But if I look at what I'm looking for is a target name, a window item here, and do I see that? I do not. So I see all these. You notice what I also did here is there's a bunch of custom parameters. You can create custom parameters that are associated with your LTI link, and that's really helpful. For example, if you want the LTI link that's created in Learn to point back to a particular item on your system, you want to use the. It's helpful to use either the custom parameters and use those so that your tool knows what content they actually want to get, or the other means, I don't have it here. That's probably one of the best ways, is to use the custom parameters. If you have questions about the using the other way, the other means, then I'll make another video about that. But right now, let's just say add a custom parameter so that you are getting the item that you want to be associated with when you do the launch to come back to your tool. There is a thing that you don't want to do. Let me pause a minute and show you that. Okay, what you do not want to do is specify content. You can use the custom parameters, as I was just mentioning, to put those in the launch so that your tool can determine what content it should get when that link that gets created does its launch. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to modify the tool redirect URL. It has to be registered in the developer portal, and that's exactly what must be used when you're doing the OIDC launch. So you should never be modifying parameters on the tool redirect URL. So you can't return a deep link response with a tool redirect URL that has some value appended here. So how do you send a deep link response? Use the custom parameters or custom properties. That's what we were just talking about. So there's the answer. All right, so back to what we were talking about, which is in fact deep linking. So that was germane. But so what we're going to do now is, instead of the default, what we're going to do is we're going to take the modified code, and we are going to say custom JSON, and then we're going to take our JSON that we've modified here, and we are going to paste it here. And you'll see that we have a title for the JSON, the item that gets created, and we have a label for the score. And then what you'll want is you'll want to have a custom parameter that points to the item in your tool that is associated with this link that gets created in Learn. So that's where we talk about pickers, where the tool has a picker where it can pick the instructor can pick the item. Then you send this JSON payload back that points to the item that the instructor picked. Now, this JSON payload can include more than one item. So if you want to build multiple, if the instructor picks several items and they check several check boxes in your tool, you could send all of those back to Learn. Here we're just showing you one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit submit here. And now I've basically that step, the tool actually checked that it was valid JSON. You notice that it also appended things like the ISS and the odd and so forth, valid ones. And now we're going to hit return deep linking. And we got a success, and here's our item. And you'll see that in our gradebook we have a gradable LTI 1.3 link. And now you could use assignments, and you could use the launch from the student for this content to your tool. You could then give them a quiz, say for example on the tool side, and then you could use assignments and grades to push a grade back to the Learn gradebook. All right, thank you for watching. I hope this really helps you with your development of LTI 1.3 tools and Anthology Learn. Have a wonderful day. Happy coding.